Apex Racing TV, it's Le Mans week here in A Racing, and of course the SRA GTE Series is today live right now from the Circuit De La Sarthe. I'm Marco Barbanera, behind the cameras of course is Scott Newton, and of course as well with me in the commentary booth, Wei Han. Hello man, how you doing, and are you ready for this fantastic 1 hour race?
Hello Marco, good morning, evening, afternoon everyone, because we've come to Circuit De La Sarthe tonight, otherwise known as Le Mans, and yes Marco, looking forward to an exciting night of racing, because it's not an endurance race that we're doing tonight, it's only 60 minutes, but it'll still be fun nonetheless.
A track that has long been in the desires of the iRacers all around the world is finally here, and I think that will pose a unique challenge to all the drivers involved today. And of course, we are getting into crunch time. Final 3 races of the season. We have Le Mans, Daytona, and Sebring, the perfect trio of tracks to finish the race. We have very, very low temperature. It's 18 degrees on the track. And of course, let's give you the championship standings since we are, like I said, in the very, very final stages of the championship. And Jair Rinjali is your leader, 621 points, with Mike Burdett in second, 558 points. It's Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira in third place, 520 points. Then is Ahmad Nurazam with 493, Peter Klaviter with 468, and Grant Crow with 441 in sixth. Seventh place for Linar Kaksi and Abhirasi Putra, both with 422 points, and it's Lachlan Crow with 415, and rounding up the top 10 is Brian Ramforth, the 555 Ferrari, 396 points, as all the other competitors are on your screen. And qualifying, of course, is underway, as you can probably see and hear in the background. We've got Ferraris, Porsches, and of course the Fords, which could be, a surprise car. We always see Wei Han a battle between Ferrari and the Porsche this season so far, but maybe the Fords can be, a wild card in this very, very. The Ford has been built to win this race, let's be honest. So it is possible that a Ford driver could have a good result today.
Sure, with the Ford, you do notice that the car could be a fair bit more stable, more towards the driver's liking at a circuit, a high-speed circuit like this one. So we may see the playing field being evened out more evenly than races before, where we may see certain tracks favoring either the Porsche or Ferrari more than the Ford. So of course, this circuit here, I believe it's 13 kilometers long, and that's more than twice the length of any Grand Prix circuits that you'll find around. So that will be a bit different from most circuits that we see usually.
Yeah, 2 big factors, of course. The huge straight that I'm an old school guy. I called it the Unadir Straight, but I guess that most people today called it the Mulsanne Straight, so that's what I'm going to call. Broken up due to safety reason by 2 chicanes that back in the day were called the PlayStation chicanes, but I think they are the Forza chicanes now. They switched from Sony to Microsoft in the meantime, I think. And of course, all the famous corners that we get, Indianapolis, Arnage, the Porsche curve. So as we are on board with Jamal Khandour right now, going into the first of the 2 chicanes here on the Mulsanne Straight, and you see another big factor we have to take notice of is the slowdowns. There are many corners, especially in the first part of the track, that will not give you an off-track, but will give you a slowdown. And we know that especially in the first couple of laps, these penalties can be extremely harsh and you lose a lot of time. And this also can create some problems. People are following you, you have to lift, and people will try to go left and right in order to avoid chaos. As we see, it's always difficult to get a right sense of where to brake in these chicanes, and then you get this fantastic run up to the right-hander there. After the second chicane, you go to the proper Mulsanne corner, which is always a nice passing spot I'm expecting Wei Han a lot of passes down the straight, especially with the huge draft. If you can follow a car closely through that straight there and the chicane, you will be able to make a move, I think. And we have lost temporarily our broadcast colleague, so you will have to suffer with me, only me, for the next couple of minutes. So, 2 minutes to the end of qualifying, and it's Lachlan Crowe on cameras right now in 5th position, 3:48.7, trying to get a better lap. Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira is in the temporary pole position, and I don't think he will try for another lap since he's in the pits. On the route laps, we have Lachlan Crowe and Alex Paul, and as we see, Crowe go for a spin on his out lap. So let's go to Alex Paul then, and I think that these drivers will be able to start their final lap. I don't know if they will be able to complete their lap, because I think that the buffer is only a couple of minutes after the checkered flag drops, so we will see if one of these guys is able to get a better starting position as Jolly goes on the start-finish line. It is a new pole position for Jaisrin Jolly. So he peeps Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira with 30 seconds left in the session. And he will start from the pole if things hold on. Clawiter is in 4th position. Jamal Gandour 3:48.0. He doesn't improve and is still in P6. And let's see how Alex Paul will do. I think he's the final car on track right now with the chance to set a fast lap as the checkered flag waves in the air here in France. I think we will have the Air Squadron show at the beginning of the race. So look up for the sky, I think, when the race is starting in a matter of minutes. Also, Simon Sanchez is trying to set a fast lap. He is 1 minute away from the start-finish line. Beautiful camera shots here. You can see the bumps here on the straight going to the left-hander here.
I'm back, guys. So sorry, I had a bit of a blue screen just now, right on the Mount Sand Straight.
Well, our colleague is back. Welcome back, Wei Han. And I thought you went for chips for everyone and a hot dog, but it was only a technical problem then. I was expecting something to eat while we see the finish of this qualifying session as Sanchez is through the Ford chicane, the final section of the track, bouncing hard on the curves. Doesn't seem like he will be able to improve his time, but will set one because he has yet to set one. And it's a 350.6. This puts him in 9th place as he parks the car with style on the left side of the start and finish straight. So Alex Paul, I think, is left, and I don't think he will be able to finish his lap. Let's see how much time is left now. We still have 3 minutes and 50, so the buffer time has been extended for this particular racetrack. So Alex Paul will be able to finish his lap. We are on board with this beautiful Ferrari. Not as loud as the Porsche, of course, like we said many times, but still
pretty much.
Yeah, a nice sounding car that is going through the gears in the final section of this extremely long semi-permanent track here at Le Mans. Safer barrier here on the right side. You don't want to crash here. Extremely difficult section. Just one small mistake in the line here and you are off. Either in the gravel or more probably in the wall. Very wide there. Pitec entrant is on the right. He made a mistake there. He got an off track and he's aborting his lap And I think that will be that for qualifying. Everybody is parking. And I think we will have the starting grid in a few seconds.
So we have we've got 15 drivers on the grid for tonight, a little lower than we'd perhaps like in comparison to previous races. But Jasmine Jolly, he has a lap time of 3 minutes 46.467. He takes pole and he'll be starting from pole position. Alongside him is driver from Macau Sim Racing Team, Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira, another strong contender of this series and currently leading in the Clubman class. We've also got Ahmad Nurazam and Peter Carter, both fast drivers as well. They take third and fourth respectively. Abi Putra in P5. Jamal Gandur, great to see him up here. He's in P6. Lachlan Crow and Andre Ambada, they take P7 and P8. Simon Sanchez and Brian Renfers, P9 and P10. Paul Nelson, your favorite Coca-Cola Porsche. Paul Nelson and Brian Monger, they take P11 and P12. Kevin Huang takes P13. Alex Pohl takes P14, and Federico Teixeira, good to see him here as well. I think it's been a few times that we've seen him up on here. He rounds up your grid of 15 strong tonight.
A good thing we have the short version of his name in the graphics because I think he's a driver with the longest name in iRacing. I was checking during the practice session. And whilst I'm a big fan of pronouncing every name correctly and in its entirety, with him, I think it's good that we have the short version. As the cars are lining up for the race start, for the usual pace lap that we have here, luckily and thankfully a bit shorter than the entire lap.
So the French aerobatic team should be making their fly past rather soon as the cars take up the grid.
Hopefully the drivers don't take notice and keep their focus on the black stuff because it can be quite distracting even though it's absolutely beautiful as the cars are finally rolling here. Let's remember, 1 hour race, so we will have a pit stop and it's going to be, of course, strategy will play a huge part, even though it's going to be quite easy to get clean track around this very, very long circuit. So don't expect the traffic problems that we had, for example, in Watkins Glen. Hopefully all the drivers remember to put the correct amount of fuel in the car before the race start and at the pit stop, and no one gets a pit entry penalty. And that, of course, Wei Han, that first corner, always dangerous with a chicane, sudden sharp braking zone, and we want to avoid any kind of contact there.
Absolutely, I'm sorry, I've just been adjusting some camera settings.
Slowly but surely the cars are following the roof pace car, who will take a hard right in a matter of seconds, and that will signal the start of proceedings here. Had a great race on Wednesday here on Apex Racing TV. In the official Le Mans series, now it's the GTs who take the center stage here in France at the Circuit De La Sarthe. Here the planes rumbling over our heads. Me and Wei Han, both great fans of aviation, so this is good. But now it's time to go racing. Jolly puts the pedal to the metal. And the race is on at the Circuit De La Sarthe SRA GTE Series from Le Mans. Very clean start from everyone. Getting there to the braking zone with a huge gap. Jolly, Oliveira, Nurazam. As the planes are still roaring overhead, as loud as the Porsches, I would say. Everybody gets through cleanly, everybody respecting each other as Oliveira, Nurazam and Jolly have a clean lead over the rest of the pack. Jamal Gandour is in P6 with his beautiful Ford, trying to hunt down Putra and Clawiter, the two Porsches in front of him, with Lachlan Crow pressing from behind as we go on the Mulsanne straight for the first time. Getting ready for the first hard braking zone of the day, with Nurazam moving to the inside of Oliveira, but he thinks about the move and maybe says maybe later. It's a long race, no need to be in the car in the first lap, as Jolly is taking quite a significant lead, and behind him they are all bunching up more or less behind Oliveira. That's the draft effect we talked about in the beginning of the broadcast. It's going to be extremely difficult to get rid of a car following you in this section, as Nurazam once again on the inside, this time is going for it. Oliveira, very, very gentlemanly, lets him by, and we have a change of position for P2. Ahmad Nurazam is in second position now, with Oliveira in third. Clawiter, Putra, Kandur, Crow, everybody closing and very, very tight behind him, with Jolly, of course, having a nice lead in front, as you can see, with Oliveira maybe trying to get the position back. Oh, and there's contact, and around goes Nurazam in the middle of the racing line. He gets hit by Putra, and only by Putra, I think. All the other cars were able to avoid him. Very, very hard contact there between Oliveira and Nurazam, and Nurazam is, of course, back at the end of the pack, basically. Let's see if Putra has some damage or not. We will have to check his lap times. It was a pretty big hit for Putra there, and of course, yes, these guys have a fast repair, but if you go in early for your repair right now, you will have to stop once again come the end of the race. So Putra and Nurazam will have to nurse the car a little bit before they are able to go into the pits and get eventually their repairs.
I do apologize, Marco. I've been having some issues with my live timing and I have to reset my simulator. But sounds like a great racing that's been unfolding so far, Marco.
Absolutely. Too bad for that contact before. I think that Oliveira and Nurazam were on equal pace and were going to have a long, long fight. Now Jolly has got 3.5 seconds over Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira, with Clawiter in third position. As you see, this battle for the back end of the top 10 between Ambadar, Sanchez, Remfords and Nelson, but also Paul and I would say Monger also involved in this six-way scrap for 7th place. We see different lines, different interpretations from Ambadar and Sanchez as we start the second lap. There's a slow car there. I think somebody's Clawiter. Yeah, it's Clawiter. Maybe got a slowdown on the final chicane. Like I said in the beginning, the first two laps, these slowdowns will punish you, and Clawiter dropped many, many positions, now down to P10. As Nurazam is in the pits, so does Monger, and I think that Monger had to tow back to the pits, so maybe a crash for Brian Monger. So Nurazam elected to pit, and of course I think we'll have to stop again. Lachlan Crow putting pressure, sorry, it's Kandur putting pressure on Lachlan Crow for 4th position on the Mulsanne straight. Moves in on the inside, then back on the outside, kills a cone and thinks better about making the move. That Ford is beautiful and is looking very, very fast today.
Because on that corner entry, you do not want to go too far out as you make the corner entry, because that will mean you'll get a slowdown as you effectively cut the circuit if you go too far off and hit the cone. Lachlan Crow now in P4, and he has Jamal. He leads Jamal Gandour into this second chicane along this Mauzan straight.
Crow is able
taking a slightly wide
okay,
exit.
yeah.
Sorry, Marco.
No. Sorry, man. Yeah, just you have to be very, very careful. Even going a bit outside there can result in a slowdown. So be extremely careful. I think when you try to make a move or defend your position, you need to have a good line. And Gandour goes for it once again. It has been a trouble spot so far in this race, but this time it's a clean move for Gandour, and he gets to P4. But this battle, I think, Wei Han is far from over, and here comes Crow once again.
Absolutely a battle for P4 as Lachlan Crow now slightly edges out Jamal Gandour across that slight kink that as they now approach this right hand kick, hitting the curbs like that. As they now come towards this corner, which I believe is Indianapolis corner.
Yes, Indianapolis, and then Arnage, the right-hander here.
Heartbreaking here, they come through Arnage, although Jamal Gandour is now slightly further back, and they've got a good exit through this corner, and now Jamal should be out on the lookout for another move through this section. Although now we do get to see the speed differences between the Ford and the Ferrari as Jamal now slowly closes up the gap. We try to make a move down as they enter these Porsche curves here. Alright, a little bit of battle here for P6, Andre Ambadar versus Simon Sanchez, and Peter Carter is looking to have a slice of the pie as well, as they now make their way through that corner with a wall that is so close to you that you do not want to touch it.
And we see some bad crashes during the years. Good thing that they put a safer barrier there, but still you don't want to hit that wall there. It's going to be a trouble spot as Sanchez moves on the inside on the fourth chicane, but then puts the brakes on and lives to fight another day. But now this means that Clawiter will have a run, maybe at the first chicane, with, let's not forget about Remforce sitting there in P9 right behind them.
Clawiter tries to make a move inside there on Simon Sanchez, although it is still Andrea Ambadar who takes the first chicane quite nicely there. Good braking, good corner entry as we see the car slightly coming over the hill as they now slowly approach this series of S's here. I believe third gear corners these are, as it's more important for as we have a look here as Peter Carter tries to make a move here as they take this crucial Tetra Rouge corner, and now I'm not too sure if Peter may have taken that corner a bit too ambitiously as he may have just did, and he might have earned himself.
That's a slowdown. That's a slowdown, exactly. And that will cost him once again. It's the second slowdown that Peter has gotten in this race in basically 3 laps. We are at the beginning of the 3rd lap, of course, and now it's all to do once again for the number 606 Porsche of Peter Clawiter. He lost positions, gained them once again, now he lost positions to the slowdown, and this will give some crucial breathing room for Ambadar and Sanchez, of course. As in front of him we see a move once again. It's Crow and Gandour. These two guys are battling really hard. And Gandour seems to have the upper end right now. Meanwhile, in front, Jali has a 6.5 seconds lead over Oliveira, with Putra not far behind, half a second away from Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira. So all in all, we are having some great battles, Wei Han, and all over the field. Jali has a good life in the front, but behind him it's all happening basically.
Absolutely. On this circuit, drivers notice that they do have more breathing room for themselves in case they start to slip a bit, because there are a lot of straights where you can make use of the slipstream to catch up, as many of the cars have been doing so tonight. Jamal Gandour currently sits in P4, and both P4 and P5 have formed a slight breakaway from P6 and beyond. As we've just seen here, Lachlan Crowe, Yamamoto side by side through this right kick.
Ooh.
Of course, almost unsettling car, the Ford GT there by Jamal Gandu. That corner, you do not want to mess up your braking on entry as they now come towards Arnage. So it must have been P4 going to Lachlan Crowe.
This battle is far from over, as is not over the battle behind them, of course. Like you said, the slipstream will be crucial, and I think that this is all good training for next week because we are going at best track for slipstreaming in iRacing, and it's going to be the Daytona Road Course at night, so we'll have nice fireworks at the end of the race, but let's not get ahead of ourselves too much and concentrate on this race here because we are only 11 minutes in. And you know, we have seen in this series when two drivers are battling, it's usually for the long run, and I'm expecting this battle to go on until the end of the race, barring any crashes or mistakes by the drivers.
Sure, it does seem to be more of a race where consistent pace would outweigh aggressive battles, unlike what we've seen in races before. As Lopez de Oliveira in P2, he leads the rest of the field because he is fair. I think he's actually more than 7 seconds behind race leader Jaswin Charlie, so he is under pressure from Abi Putra in P3, who wants a piece of P2. So these two drivers still within the podium as they now approach the Tetra Rouge. Of course, the most crucial corner here. You do not want to take this corner too wide, nor do you want to take this corner beyond the ideal racing line, or that will earn you a cut track penalty, as Abi Putra has just taken advantage of the slight slipstream there, and he comes ahead of Lopez de Oliveira to take P2. But now he comes for a defensive move as they now approach the first chicane. To the inside and back to the outside went Abi Putra, and now they go on the brakes for the first chicane.
I think that the Ferrari of Oliveira is hitting the rev limiter going into the chicane, and that is not good, of course, as we see Putra moving left and right, trying to don't give Oliveira too much slipstream. Let's see it, or maybe it was Putra to hit the rev limiter. Let's see.
Yeah,
no,
it is
Oliveira.
Oliveira.
Yeah.
So though I think it does have to do with sorry, Scott.
Yeah, why not?
Alright, on board this extremely loud Porsche. And on this long straight we can get to hear the engine roar to its maximum. But now they come to this sharp right-hander Maussan corner, braking all the way down, shifting all the way to first gear. As now he comes back to back up again through the gears. He has Lopez de Oliveira here, rear bumper cam, and we just have a look at how close Lopez de Oliveira takes through the gearbox of Abi Putra. So of course at this section it is where drivers will have the chance to try to make another move in addition to that Maussan straight. Although Abi Putra has pulled ahead owing to perhaps Lopez de Oliveira taking a more conservative approach to entering this corner. Of course they've just taken the kink there, do not want to brake too hard into the corner, and now they take Arnage.
I think that Peter Clawiter might have crashed out of the race. He jumped back, towed back to the pits. So things going from bad to worse for Peter Clawiter, one of the championship protagonists. 2 slowdowns early in the race, and now a crash. Is back to the pits, and I think it's game over for the German driver.
Yes, and it's also unfortunate for his team because his other teammate Grant Crow, he's on a vacation and will not be back until Sebring.
Well, now talking about the crash we had in the beginning, I think that we can safely say that Abi Putra's car is feeling fine. I thought he definitely had a contact with the spinning Ferrari of Nurazam, but it seems like it isn't affecting him that much, and that is of course good It's also possible that the contact was displayed on my screen because I'm several thousand kilometers away from the server, so maybe Putra went by with class without touching the spinning Ferrari. And I have to say congratulations to everyone, because that Ferrari there was in a very, very tough spot after, I think, in getting into one of the toughest braking zones of the entire track, and I think everybody managed to get around Nurazam, so too bad for him, as Lackland Pro is in the pits. Seems like a problem for Crow as well, and I think this is not a scheduled stop. So the mistakes Wei Han are piling up in this race even for very, very good and experienced drivers.
Does seem so to me, because on this circuit, the racing dynamics are slightly different. As we have a look at the Coca-Cola Porsche, Marco,
Yeah.
you like this?
Best
So he,
car in the championship, and I love basically all the liveries in this championship, but this one takes the cake for the best. It's absolutely amazing.
Paul Nelson sitting in P7 and Simon Sanchez in P6. Because now this is, you can't call this a three-way battle, because they seem to be more chill. They are quite a fair distance apart from one another. Andrea Ambada in P5, and they may start to bunch up perhaps as they take this straight. Although now we can observe perhaps the speed differences between the Porsche and the Ford.
Paul Nelson was complaining before the race about his setup. He's saying that the car was a bit too loose, and I don't think he has been able to get the proper changes in, because it was very, very close to the start of qualifying. So we know he's battling that car. But we know all these cars, like I said, are designed for this racetrack in mind. Yes, they go and race at Sebring, at Daytona, in the WEC, but let's be honest, this is the race that the constructors want to win: Ferrari, Ford, and Porsche. So it's good to have a track where all these cars are basically equal, whilst everywhere we go, it's a matter of advantage Ferrari, advantage Porsche, advantage Ford, which is, interesting in the long run. But to have a track where these cars are basically all on the same level is always a nice thing, and it's good to see a good bunch of Fords up in the standings. As we see, basically we have Handur, Ambadar, and Sanchez, 3 Fords, 4th, 5th, and 6th, with Handur especially showing some nice pace today, but also Sanchez and the others. Of course, otherwise they wouldn't be in the top 6 right now.
Sure, of course, it's going to be fair to say that all the cars should more or less feel at home here at De La Sarthe. His camera is now gone to Federico De Sierra, who's currently in P10, and he should be on for a fight for P9, who's currently taken up by Brian Renfers in front. So Federico De Sierra now looking to perhaps take a slipstream through this section. Of course, we have the long Malzahn straight, but we've also got sparse straights here and there, as they now brake to prepare themselves for the Porsche corner. Of course, here along these Porsche curves, it's very easy for yourself to unsettle the car if you brake a little bit too hard, if you brake not enough and take the lines a little bit too wide. As they now come towards the final Porsche curves, decelerating a bit more here as he now takes the exit of that corner. Do not want to take that too wide as well. As they now go for this final shoot down into the Ford chicanes. Some drivers may take a little bit of the pit entrance, some drivers may opt not to, as they now brake progressively all the way down, try to find the ideal line through the Ford chicanes, and back to the start-finish line again.
I think problems for Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira. He lost a bunch of time to the car in front of him, which was, of course, Putra. And now the gap between the two is 8 seconds, so something must have definitely happened to the Ferrari of Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira. And that, of course, We have a replay right now. Let's see what's going into the first sector, first chicane, right behind Putra. Braking hard here, and he lost the car. So he lost the car, went on the curbs. Nothing major, but of course, major loss of time for the number 33 Ferrari there.
Sure, I believe the issue with GT cars, especially at circuits like that, is once you brake a little bit too late, if the balance of your brakes is not on point, you tend to swing, you tend to throw the balance of the car off, and that results in the car misbehaving a little bit like what you've just seen.
Ahmad Nurazam, fastest lap of the race, 3:47.5, but sadly he is down into 11th position, and I think he will have to stop once again unless he's able to do some magic with his fuel saving. He's up to P11 right now, but once again, I think he will have to stop again. So we'll see how long it will be second stop and how many positions will he lose, as we see Fernando Lopez de Oliveira trying to get back into a nice rhythm after that mistake with Jamal Khandour, possibly dreaming of a podium now. At Watkins Glen, we were talking about his nice race, and he was sitting in P6, I remember, and then everybody in front of him crashed, and then he went and gained all those positions, and then the next lap he binned the car. So we are not going to try not to put a jinx on Jamal, who is doing a very, very nice race so far. And who knows, maybe with some strategy he will be able to get a nice podium as Oliveira runs wide a little bit, because after all, I think it's safe to say, basically I've broadcasted every round bar the opening round. I think that I can safely say that Jamal is one of the more consistent drivers in the championship.
Sure, Jamal has for himself, I believe, quite a wealth of experience. Because Jamal Gandour being one of two drivers in the Sim Racers Asian League, the history of Sim Racers Asian League, to be GT Academy finalist. Because back in, I believe, 2014 or 2015, Jamal Gandour represented Lebanon in the PlayStation GT Academy by Nissan, and he represented Lebanon. Though he did not win GT Academy Middle East, he did make a name for himself, and I believe he is one of the well-known sim racers within his home country of Lebanon.
Another lap goes in the books, 23 minutes on the clock, and it was a very slow lap for Putra at 3 minutes 50 seconds, so extremely, extremely slow. 3:57 for Oliveira because of that mistake, and Khandour 3 minutes and 51. So yeah, Jali had a 3:47.6, so basically he gained a good chunk of seconds on all the guys behind him, and Jali right now is having basically a very, very nice race, and no one around him. Long track, so he probably won't have to lap anyone, and it's looking good for the race win. But behind him is all happening, as right now we have Federico Teixeira in the pits, and I think this should be a scheduled stop, because in the live timing I don't see any kind of error or off track or crash for him. So maybe an early stop. I don't know if the cars are able to go until the end of the race. He's taking fuel right now, and let's see how much fuel he puts in. 16.7 seconds stop for him. So let's see if it's a viable strategy or if we will have to suffer to finish the race due to fuel saving in the end. So he's out, no one around him, P11 behind Nurazam. As the drivers on camera, yeah, go ahead, man.
Cameras back to Andre Ambada as he leads quite a fierce battle between Simon Sanchez and Paul Nelson, who take P6 and 7 behind Andre Ambada, who currently sits in P5. I think Andre has does he have a slight bit of aero damage? Might be my graphic settings there. Yep, the three of them still quite sparse in terms of spacing, and seems like they're managing their pace well. Maybe a slight bit of slipstream that has benefited each of them, as they've just taken the Malzahn corner, tight right-hander. Of course, that corner is the hardest braking section here at this circuit. Gear 6 all the way down to Gear 1 as they now approach this straight again, with Simon being a rather small speck of dust behind the rear view mirror of Andre Ambada.
We don't often go on board with the Ford, but the sound is amazing as well. Three very different sounding cars and very, very beautiful engine note. As I have to say, Sanchez is getting closer and closer, and maybe we'll go for a move before the end of this lap.
Sure, he seems to have closed the gap by a fair bit, and they sit. Wow, it's actually quite close at the moment. Simon Sanchez sits just under 3/10, now under 2/10 of a second behind Andromeda, as he now goes. Perhaps nope, not exactly making a move as they now break for the Porsche curves. Let's have a look at how he takes this line. Right, not exactly close to the safer barrier. You do not want to go anywhere too close to that, as he now takes the final two of the Porsche curves. And decelerating a fair bit more as he takes this exit. A bit loose there. Managed to countersteer that. As now they go for the short shoot down this section again. Smart move there, not wanting to do a too wide into the Ford chicanes.
No, unless it's the final lap and you're desperate, but this has allowed Nelson to close the gap on Sanchez. So I was talking about this in the BSRTC Pro broadcast on Thursday, and you know, sometimes even when you catch up to the car you are trying to pass, even if you don't go for a move, just the fact that you have to adapt your braking zones and don't want to crash into the car in front of you, this automatically costs you so much time that if the guy behind you is running a similar pace to you, he's going to close on you in a matter of a couple of corners. And this is exactly what happened now. Sanchez goes from trying to make a move for P5 to defending P6 because Nelson is getting very, very close, and I think he will also benefit from the slipstream here on the first part of the Mulsanne straight.
As we have a glimpse of the Coca-Cola Porsche. Again, these three drivers taking P5, 6, and 7 respectively. Simon still in P6. Although Paul Nelson now taking advantage of the slipstream offered by Simon Sanchez as they now approach the first chicane along this long Malzahn straight. Now, much closer comes Paul Nelson as he's now within breathing distance of each other, all the way up to the rear bumper, and oh, this is going to be quite exciting here. Let's have a look at if this is going to be a side-by-side through to the chicane. Right, side-by-side battle. Is this going to be a too wide into the second chicane here? Let's have a look. Nope, Paul Nelson backs off. Rather smart move there, and Simon Sanchez still holds on to the position P6 ahead of Paul Nelson.
I'm seeing the lines of these drivers, and it looks to me like Nelson is having a much smoother time in the corners. He has better lines. He almost always comes out of the corner much quicker than Sanchez, and he maybe had in mind for a second a dive bomb here at the Mulsanne corner, but you see Sanchez is all over the place.
Another attempt by Paul Nelson through this section here. Side by side, it's going to be side by side through to the next corner, which I believe is this kink. Oh, this is going to be a bit interesting. Right, now Paul Nelson edges out, but is Simon going for a bit of a comeback? No, I think Paul has just sealed that move, and Paul moves up to P6. Simon down P7, although they now have this additional stretch for them to stretch their legs for a fair bit more.
Great move there by Paul Nelson, and he gets the well-deserved P6 now. Question is, will he be able to pull away from Sanchez, or will Sanchez keep the gap close? And this would allow, of course, Ambadar to have a good chance to pull away from these guys and secure this P5. As I think Putra made a little mistake there, losing a bunch of time. 351.2, so maybe he had a problem with the final chicane, because he lost a lot of time to the other guys, as we have a car in the pits. Right now it's Ambadar, so he's going in, 31 minutes on the clock, so definitely a scheduled stop. See how much times he spends on the jacks for his fuel. I don't think, as usual, that these guys will take tires, so it takes a lot of time, and the advantage of having fresh tires is negated by the fact that the race is only 1 hour long, and these tires are designed to do doubles, if not triple stints, especially here at Le Mans, so there's not a huge advantage like you may see, for example, in other disciplines like Formula 1. So Ambadar is in and out. 14.8 seconds is fuel stop. Remember that Federico Teixeira did 16 seconds. And we'll have to see. I'm a bit skeptical about Federico's chances to finish the race with that short of a stop, considering that he went in, I think 2 or 3 laps ago. He went in on lap 6, we are on lap 9. So that may have been a bit optimistic, as Nelson is trying to pull away from Sanchez, as you see Khandur right in front of them, and Paul in the back of the picture coming out of the chicane.
Jamal Gandour is a fair distance ahead. Jamal now sitting in P4, and if he might have a bit of damage along his front end there, I think he may have come into contact with someone else earlier on. But he now sits in P4, and he sits 6 seconds behind Lopez de Oliveira in P3.
You see the track map on the right to see where your favorite driver is right now in a quick glance. Of course, the thing that sticks out, the huge advantage that Jolly has. The dots are moving so slow, of course, because the track is so big. So it looks like they are moving at a snail pace, but it's just because 13 kilometers put into 10 centimeters on the screen. You have to reach a compromise at some point.
Let's look at how Jamal Gandour wrestles his car through these corners. Of course, he does not wrestle his car. He finesses his car through these corners. Because these corners, they are rather, I guess, geometric. 90 left, 90 right corners that they are. And Jamal has been doing a great job with his car so far. Now cameras are back to Simon Sanchez and Paul Nelson, who take P6 and P5 respectively. They've been battling all race long, and they still are at it hard.
Yeah, to answer my question, the question I posed to myself a couple of laps ago, will Nelson be able to pull a gap on Sanchez? No, because Sanchez is still there. And of course, the fact that we had Ambadar go to the pits, that might have negated Nelson with a good chance at catching his slipstream and maybe pulling away from the Ford.
Who goes sideways there.
Wow, great save there by Sanchez. He lost a bit of time, not much, but that could have been disastrous. We have seen over the years many crashes, and very, very wise decision by Sanchez now to go for the pit stop and take a little break and focus once again once the pit proceeding is done. Good save and good decision there, thinking on his feet there, Simon Sanchez. And now Nelson is left all alone.
Yeah, we've passed, I believe we've beyond the halfway mark of
Yes.
this race, so of course,
35 minutes
pit
on the
windows-
clock.
Yep, so the pit windows are all wide open for all the drivers tonight. So it does look to me that the cars that have yet to pit are the cars in the top 6. Justin Charlie all the way down to Alex Poe. They've yet to take the pit stops. Simon and Brian Rankles, both of those drivers, they're in the pits at the moment.
You are absolutely right. Top 6 have yet to pit. Everyone else has been in, including Ahmad Nurazam. For those who are just tuning in, Nurazam involved in a lap 1 contact with Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira, which forced him to go into the pits very, very early to repair the damage. And like we said, the pit window opens a bit later than that, so we are expecting Ahmad Nurazam to pit once again, and that's too bad, of course, because he was going to be one of the main actors in today's race, but sadly he's been forced to fight from the back since the beginning, and all the positions he's making up right now, of course, will be lost when he has to pit again, which I think will happen in 10-15 minutes time, because there will be not enough fuel, unless, like I said, he's a magician and is able to make fuel appear in his fuel tank out of nowhere. But I think this is not the case, sadly, for him. Too bad when when one of the fast guys, any guys, but one of the possible contenders for the race win gets involved, and like Scott Newton is showing right now on the graphics, Nurazam has the fastest lap of the race, 3:47.5, the only guy that's been able to lap faster than the race leader, Jason Jolly, on your cameras right now, and Jolly has a landslide advantage, 23 seconds over P2. So too bad, because Ahmad Nurazam could have been in contention for the race win.
Absolutely, it is for good reason that Ahmad Nurazam and Justin Charlie are partnered up in a top regional team, that is YLab Motorsports, pretty much the fastest team here in Southeast Asia. And Jasrin is pretty much masterfully finessing his car through this long Le Mans circuit, as he now takes the pits as well. So that leaves, I believe that leaves P2 through to P6. 5 more drivers who've yet to pit.
Another guy who's been having a lot of trouble today is Peter Clawiter. He had 2 slowdowns to begin the race, and then a crash. He had to go back to the pits with a tow, so he lost a truckload of time, and then he went out with a fast repair done, I imagine, and he is, as well as Nurazam, a big question mark on his fuel until the end of the race. He's now up to P13, trying to put a move over Federico Teixeira in the Ford, as everybody is pitting basically in the top positions.
Federico there trying to defend his position, although now Peter takes the left and he seals that move, owing to the slipstream he's taken off Federico. So Peter moves up to P12, coming from his starting grid position of P10, but that still is a far cry from his usual finishing position in races prior to this.
As everybody went in, Nurazam went in as well, so that puts away all the questions we had on his fuel in his car. So it would be a 2-stopper for him, and maybe even for Clawiter. We will have to wait and see. But of course, this is going to cost Nurazam a lot of time. And with 20 minutes left in the race right now, he has to come out of the pits and push like crazy if he wants to get a couple of more points. Since we are getting to the end of the season, every point matters, of course, and in a difficult situation like this, I think, Wei Han, the only thing you have to do is go out of the pits after this second stop, and like I said, push like crazy and try to get as many positions as possible, maybe hope for some drama in the front, and maybe can get another 1 or 2 position like this, as we see Ambadar and Paul battling for the 6th position.
Absolutely. Andrea Bada behind as we have a look at the gearbox camera of the Ferrari of Alex Poe. So now this is a side-by-side that they're taking through this first third of the Mulsanne Straight. And Andrea Bada still hairline behind, not exactly hairline, half car length, but he backed out earlier. And Alex Poe still holds on to P6, but there is still this second third of this Mulsanne Straight where Ambada still has an opportunity to try to make the move as he tries to do so, sitting in the slipstream of Alex Poe. I'm not too sure if this is going to be that effective as they make their way towards the second chicane along this extremely long Mulsanne Straight. So Andre inching closer bit by bit as they now take this chicane. Oh, locking up the brakes there. Ambada locked up the brakes there, but Alex Poe gone a little wide through the exit, so I think this is going to shake things up a little bit. Of course, Marco, like you've mentioned earlier, the difference being that drivers like Alex Poe, Andrea Ambada, Ahmad Norizam, they're at the mid-pack, so they have less to lose and they would tend to make more risky maneuvers. Drivers up front, Jaswin Jali, Lopez de Oliveira, Abi Putra, they have more to lose. I believe they have everything to lose, so they should opt to drive a bit more conservatively to defend their position.
So we see Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira was able to jump Putra in the pit sequence somehow, because Putra had a decent advantage on track, especially after the mistake made by Oliveira speeding in the first chicane. And now I think Putra will have to work again to make the move. We know Putra will have to work again, and Oliveira is a very, very tough driver to pass. So this is going to be an interesting battle for the second podium spot. And the gap is, you see on the screen, 1.2 seconds. Oh, Putra goes a bit wider.
Very wide there.
At least he saved the car, but he lost a lot of time now, 2 seconds the gap. So he will have to work hard, and he has a little less than 18 minutes. So he wants to be very, 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 very fast. He's very safe about his podium right now because Gandour is I think around 9 seconds behind him, but still, if he wants that second podium position, he has to push a bit more now that he has made that mistake there.
Fantastic stuff. Lopez de Oliveira still defending his second position. So he started from pole. He has his race lead taken away by Jaswin Charlie, and the timing gap between them is staggering 30-second lead that Jaswin has ahead of Lopez de Oliveira. So this is amazing driving by the drivers here up front. So the drivers across the field tonight, everyone's doing a great job. Everyone's having fun on this circuit that they should all feel at home. As we now have a look at the battle between Andrea Ambada and Alex Poe. So I think Alex Poe has retaken what looks like retaking P6 away from Andrea Ambada. So positions are back to as they were before.
Yeah, I think Ambadar was overlapping Paul on the start-finish line, but he is getting a little bit as Clawiter goes in, so even for him, the fuel was not enough. So Ambadar is getting impatient. He wants to make this move done. Paul is defending very, very well. Nurazam is closing in on these guys. Remember, Nurazam had to stop twice, so showing his amazing pace, and hopefully everything gets resolved in a civil manner here at the chicane.
Yeah, he has the power of KFC behind him. As they now Andrea Ambada, Alex Poe taking it side by side through here, and Andrea Ambada taking very wide through the first chicane he taken.
That's gonna be a slowdown, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, that's slowdown, so.
Or maybe not.
All right.
But
so
he had a
three-way.
Terrible corner exit, yeah.
Yep, so it's going to be a three-way battle. Now, Ahmad Norizam is back to turn everything full systems on here. Both teammates fighting it out for P8. as they now take this second chicane along the Mauzan Strait. So 2 positions lost by Andre Ambada in total. And Ahmad Norazam fighting his way up now. He's in P7. Is he going to take P6 at this point? Let's find out as they take the final third of the Mauzan Strait.
Yeah, fantastic comeback drive by Nurazam on the inside here at the Mulsanne corner, using all of the curb, locking the brakes, and killing a cone in the process, but he has to... Paul is defending in a fantastic way, I have to say. It's very, very hard to pass him today.
Absolutely, Alex Paul. Now this is a exciting three-way battle that may unfold. Yes, Ahmad Norazam cutting, actually going slightly beyond the limits of the track to make this move side by side through this. You do not want to do that under normal circumstances unless you want to lose the balance of your car. As Ahmad Norazam, man, he's positioned along the outside.
Yeah, as Ambadar went around. So he's out of this fight, and great move by Nurazam there.
So this is Norazam fighting it hard with the power of Le Mans KFC behind his back. As Norazam now in P6, he has Paul Nelson, who is 10 seconds ahead of him to hunt down. So, is it going to be possible for these two drivers actually to help each other to pull themselves closer to the field ahead?
We'll have to see. Lap times were equal in the last lap, but we know that Nurazam was in a battle, so I want to see Nurazam with clean air if he's faster than Nelson. One thing is sure is that last lap Gandour at a 4:29, now at 3:50, so let's see clean laps. Of course, I didn't consider the pit stops, so let's see without the pit stops how are these guys faring on the lap times. So Gandour, Nelson, Nurazam, all lapping in the 3 minute and 50 second range, with Paul 3 minute 54, and Ambadar, because of the mistake, is a little bit slower, 3 minute 58. So this lap is going to be interesting to see. They basically have all clean air. We'll have to see these guys I just mentioned, how fast will they go, as Crow and Sanchez are in a battle once again for the 9th position, as we are 12 minutes away from the end of the race.
Absolutely, I think it's going to be crunch time, as all the drivers should ramp up their pace at this very moment. Everything to lose, but these drivers are going to push it. Lachlan Crow versus Simon Sanchez for P9, as they've just taken Tetra Rouge, and this is going to be the first third of the Mauzan Strait that Lachlan Crow is trying to seek P9 from Simon Sanchez. Now side by side, they take this first third of the straight, and if they're able to maintain this, I think they'll be able to switch positions, as Lachlan Crow cleaning off the move there, but Simon may be looking for a bit of comeback, does not do so successfully, and that is the first third of the straight. Now they approach the second third of the straight. Now Simon Sanchez a fair bit of distance behind, but he has a slipstream from Andrea Bada that he can make use of as they take this section.
Of course, one thing to consider, very, very long track, as I will hold my thought, as Sanchez maybe is going for it the other chicane.
Oh, that was very close.
Yeah, extremely close, or even a bit of locking brakes there. One thing we have to consider, being this a very, very long track, is extremely important the moment when Jolly will take the white flag, because this is might mean like one lap more than expected for some of these drivers who may be short or very tight on fuel. So as Putra has lost a lot of ground, and now all of a sudden it's Gandour pressuring him for P3.
Oh, what's this? Jamal Gandour fighting for P3 from Abi Putra. Well, this is going to be quite exciting here. Fight for P3, of course. Abi Putra being a fast driver, Jamal Gandul being a consistent driver. Let's see how the two odds will battle each other out as they now take the Porsche curves. The Porsche curves, with the Porsche leading the Ford through the Porsche curves as they now approach this shoot, as they now complete this series of curves here to this shoot. And they will be approaching the Ford chicane. Of course, very aptly named there, Ford Porsche corners and Ford chicane down there. So Abi Putra still leads Jamal Gandul, although the gap right now is a very close 8 to 9/10 of a second. Was finessing their way through these chicanes. You do not want to lose the balance of the car at all as you take this section.
See on the right side of your screen the gap lap after lap between Putra and Gandul. He went from 11 seconds to 1.2 seconds in the span of 4 laps. So something must have happened to Putra, who's now trying to build the gap once again with Paul Nelson lurking in the back in P5. So the lap times and everybody is doing the usual 350s. So Nur Azam was lapping in the 3 minute 47s earlier in the race, but now his pace is 3 minute 50, just like Nelson and Gandul, and a bit faster than Alex Paul. So this battle seemed to be resolved, whilst of course now we still have Crow and Sanchez going at it for 9th place, 8 tenths of a second separating these two drivers here. Interesting to see Gandul, Nelson, Ambadar and Sanchez all at their fastest lap of the race, their personal best, now in the 52nd minute of this race. So they are leaving the best for last, it seems like. And we'll have to see if it's going to be enough to improve their positions, or in other cases maintain their positions at the end of this extremely tough race. 1 hour like the other, as we see a move there. Nur Azam is dropping 2 positions in a hurry.
Something must have happened.
Yeah, he lost positions to Paul and to Ambadar. Let's have a replay. Of course, Scott Newton behind the cameras, very, very punctual as always. See, Nur Azam, maybe a slowdown.
Oh, he just lost his balance.
Yeah, and he also hit the wall. So minor damage, but still damage. And Nur Azam will be kicking himself for this mistake, because he had a very, very good comeback drive there. And now it's, those 2 positions damage the car and under pressure from Crow and Sanchez.
He's probably saying to himself, "Mampus" in Malay, meaning why the hell did I do this? So he now sits in P8. Unfortunate there. He sits behind his teammate Andrea Ambada in P7. So a race of pushing hard, probably gone down the sewers for Rozam tonight. Because Marco, I'd also like to take this short opportunity that we still have here to give a special shout out to the guys who make this race possible. Of course, Kevin Huang and Bruno Cardoso for organizing this race, for organizing the scoring standings and setting up the race tirelessly week in, week out. Without them, of course, this race will not be what it is today. As you can see, Scott moving the cameras to Kevin Huang on track tonight. We're also got to thank Mr. Fuji Satono for powering this broadcast here. He's kindly come on board to power this broadcast that we enjoy here every week. Also got to give a special shout out to the stewarding team that is, I believe, Lachlan, Crow, Alex, Paul, and Mike Burdett. I think the 3 of them doing the race stewarding this season. So of course, those guys making the race fun for one and all, week in and week out. Cameras back to Jamal Gandul.
Yeah, Armeno, I wanted just to chip in once again to thank the guys as well. And like I say every week, having been a league organizer on a much smaller scale, I totally understand the amount of dedication needed to get everything rolling and to keep everyone happy, and of course, in the end, to leave some space for yourself to have fun. As Lachlan Crow is in the pits right now with 5 minutes to go, so something must have happened. Maybe under fueling the car, because that's not a scheduled stop. He already went in earlier. Khandur keeping the pressure on Putra. I think he knows he's not as fast as Abi Putra, but he knows that if he stays consistent, maybe he can take advantage of a mistake from the Porsche driver in front of him. And Nelson as well, he's still there, he's doing an honest race. P5 will be fantastic for him, I think. And he's also waiting for something to happen in this final 5 minutes, and it's going to be crucial, I think, now to understand when the final lap will start. Of course, Jali is lapping around the 3:48. We have a little bit less than 4 minutes left on the clock. And I think Jali is about halfway, even a bit more in his lap, so we might get the white flag this time around. My maths are terrible, so please help me here, Wei Han, because I don't want to call the white flag earlier than usual, like I did many times last week at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, we just have to look at Jasrin Jolly and if he's able to secure a white flag here, depending on which exact time he completes this lap. Because Jasrin Jolly having done a... Sorry, Scott?
Yeah, Scott. Yeah. Scott Newton.
The news from Scott.
Always helping us with the calculations. As Gandour putting pressure on Putra once again.
Yes, that is Jamal Gandour here, eager for fight for third as he takes the inside of Abi Putra. Now this is side by side. Oh, not side by side. Jamal sealed that move there by Abi Putra, going for a little bit of comeback as they come through this slight right king before Indianapolis corner. So this is Jamal Gandour up to P3.
Yeah.
And yeah, Jamal up to P3, taking the position from Abi Putra, but now it's Abi's turn to perhaps attempt for a comeback move as they have this straight ahead of them.
As the white flag is in the air, so we'll have this lap for these guys and one more, of course, when they cross the start-finish line.
A lot of pressure mounting on the shoulders of Jamal Gandour. He's just found his newfound podium position here through the Porsche curves. Now this time it's Ford leading a Porsche through the Porsche curves, very aptly named there. And it's probably going to be a Ford leading the Porsche through the Ford chicanes as they do this little shoot here down to the chicanes coming up in front. So don't want to battle it out through these corners because it really unsettles the car here. I was frightened for a little 1 second there.
Ooh, mistake.
Now they come out, okay. So it is mistake by Putra, yes, thanks for pointing that out, Marco. So this looks to be perhaps fate sealed for Jamal Gandour, perhaps up to P3, as Abi Putra now comes under pressure from the Coca-Cola Porsche of Paul Nelson in P5.
Yeah, final lap, and of course Gandour now is all alone and he locks the brake coming into the chicane, so he's making it hard for himself. Putra is 1.7 seconds back, so despite that mistake by Gandour there at the first chicane, he seems to be in a good position to get a fantastic podium. And now, of course, Putra, he was third for a lot of time today, and now even second for a bit. Now he's in fourth and he's risking to finish in fifth position. I wonder if he's saving a bit of fuel, because Nelson looks extremely faster than him now.
Much faster. Yeah, as you listen to the roaring engine note of this Porsche all the way up to 9,000 RPM, I believe. And gearbox camera of Abi Putra we were at just now. So now Abi Putra has the advantage of the slipstream of Paul Nelson. I think it might be some fuel differences, fuel settings there that causes Abi Putra to be slightly slower. But he has the advantage of slipstream. Is he going to go for a comeback for P4 because he's just lost 3 positions in the span of 1 lap? Final lap here, ladies and gentlemen. As you observe now, they take the second chicane along this Mulsanne straight. Paul Nelson still leads RB Putra, although RB is not too far behind. I think all the way up close to his bumper, but I think owing to the fuel settings, RB can only keep up this much. As we see defensive moves there by Paul Nelson, and RB Putra trying to find whatever gap he can, knocking the cone off there as they now brake hard for Mulsanne corner, this right-hander that should be taken in first gear.
As we see the leader, Jaiserin Jali, completing the final part of his final lap. Of course, great dominant win for him. What could have been for Nurazan, we will never know. What we know is that Jali had a dominant race from flag to flag, and is going to take a well-deserved win here at Le Mans in the legendary Circuit De La Sarthe. Final corners, fourth chicane for him, only this one corner left. Checkered flag already waving in the air, and with style, Jaiserin Jali is your race winner at Le Mans in the SRA GTE Series. Congratulations to Jali for a fantastic win.
Oh, this is still a battle for P5, as Paul Nelson still sits ahead of RB Putra. Yes, by the looks of it, it is Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira, Jamal Gandour, and both of them taking P2 and 3, though we're not too certain. Wow, side by side through! My goodness, that was so close. Side by side through the Porsche curves goes 2 Porsche 911 RSRs here. Both of these cars, well, at home here at France. So it is Paul Nelson leading RB Putra, battle all the way to the end. As on the foreground there, you see Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira leading Jamal Gandour to the finish line, and Paul Nelson leading RB Putra to the finish line as well. So Lopez de Oliveira P2, Jamal Gandour P3, Paul Nelson P4, RB Putra. Unfortunate last minute fallacies over there, and he's gone down to P5. Now we look at Andre Ambada a little bit too wide he went. So Amanor Zam in P7. He tried hard to fight all the way up towards nearing to the podium. He could almost feel it, but it's all the way down as a huge mistake. Oh my goodness! Unfortunate for Andre Ambada, as he's gone, I think, a little overboard.
I tell you what happened there. I think he got a slowdown for going too wide. He was trying desperately to get the slowdown resolved. Then he lost the car going over the curves, and that would have been game over for him regardless, because he would have lost the position to Sanchez, as well as we see Teixeira finishing his race in P12. So Crow is 10th. Teixeira will be promoted to P11, I guess, because Ambadar went to the pits. He would have had a penalty regardless because of the slowdown. I think he got there. He got a slowdown for sure because he cut the chicane in the end. So it's a pointless discussion that I'm having with myself. And finally, it's going to be Klauiter finishing 13th. Had a lot of problems today. He was one of the top runners involved in some extracurricular activities with the wall. And so, two-stopper for him, lost a bunch of time. Only P12 for the Porsche 606. And that's everyone across the start-finish line. So we have the race results for you.
Absolutely. So, race winner, Jaiserin Jali. Fantastic race. Pretty much fantastic performance by Jaiserin all race long. Started qualified from P3, but he snatched P1 in a blink of an eye, and he remained up there all race long. He wins your race here at Le Mans. Lopez de Oliveira just received a message from him in the server that he's actually loaded a wrong setup, but despite that, he's maintained P2. So great driving by Lopez de Oliveira tonight. He takes P2. Jamal Gandor, fantastic performance by the Lebanese Middle Eastern driver here at Le Mans. Because he'd usually be marred by internet and technical issues, but none of that here to bother him tonight. He's secured third position. Paul Nelson, Coca-Cola Porsche, great driving as well by him. He's up to P4. Abi Putra, because he started from P4, what looks like P14, climbed all the way up to P5, was actually fighting for the final podium spot there in P3, but didn't manage that and lost 2 positions, and he finishes in P5. Alex Paul in P6 lost 4 positions from where he started. Ahmad Nourizam, of course, hard driving by him tonight, but he has to settle for P7. P8, Simon Sanchez, and P9 goes to Brian Ramphus, and Lachlan Crew rounds up your top 10. And Federico Teixeira, Peter Clouter, P11, P12 respectively. P13, Andrea Ambada, P14, Kevin Huang, and P15 goes to Brian Munger, who unfortunately retired around the start of the race.
So, only 2 races left in this beautiful championship. I fell in love. I didn't know this championship before. Thankfully, I got to commentate it, and I'm a bit sad that there's only a couple of races left. Wei Han, we go to Daytona. We talked about it briefly during the race, but I think the time is right now to talk about that race, night race. So, like I said, tune in because we have fireworks at the beginning of the race, at the end of the race, and it's going to be fantastic. But of course, I think it's going to be slipstream, and even more slipstream. For those that don't know the track, it's a very, very simple and quick infield section with 2, basically 3 very slow hairpins and a kink, and then you go back on the oval and you do basically the entire NASCAR oval apart from a chicane that is only there because otherwise the circuit would not have been FIA approved for the 24-hour race. So that provides a passing opportunity, but it's not enough to break the draft. So you see a lot of side-by-side battles going into the left-hander at the beginning of the track to get into the infield.
Of course, Daytona Circuit, one of my favorite tracks. Initially I did not like that circuit because it was rather cramped and difficult, but it is a very simple and fun circuit, yet challenging at the same time, because you've got 2 corners, 2 parts of the circuit, or rather a couple of parts of the circuit that are actually crucial to your entire pace across the circuit. You have turn 1, turn 2, decreasing radius corner there. You have to get the perfect line or you lose the pace through the first hairpin. You've also got the exit of the infield section. That corner you have to get your your line on point in order to get the optimal exit speed through the first banked section. And you've also got the bus stop chicane. It's actually high speed section there, so you have to get your racing line, your balance right, or anything off, and you may stand a chance to actually spin your car and lose balance. And yeah, pretty much a circuit fabled for hosting the Rolex 24 Daytona, as well as we all know it, Daytona 500. Who doesn't like that?
Yeah, I think we have Jamal Khandour for an interview.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's bring it up.
Here he is, fantastic podium finish for Jamal. Great drive, consistent drive, not a lot of mistakes, very consistent, and you got a very, very, very well-deserved P3 in the end. I think our driver is a bit shy, Wei Han, today. He doesn't want to do. Maybe he's still celebrating.
Absolutely, but Jamal, if you're listening to this, great job today, man. You did well, and you're up there. Glad that your internet issues didn't bog you down tonight.
Yeah. While we wait for Jamal, let me remind you, because now it's only the start of 2 days full of broadcast, and of course also next week here on Apex Racing TV. So we had this fantastic 1-hour race. We have another enduro for you later in the day. It starts at 18 GMT. It's the Euro V8 Supercar Series live from Spa-Francorchamps. It's going to be a fantastic enduro. Don't miss it. Then tomorrow we have at 14 GMT the iRacing Grand Prix Series making its comeback here on Apex Racing TV. We are live from Monza, my circuit. And then later in the day at 19:15 GMT, we are going to have the first round of the showdown for the BSR Grand Tour, first of 3 showdown races. Then on Monday, of course, it's at the same time the World GT Championship from Okayama as well, just like the BSR. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. On Tuesday, the Mazdas are back on track. We have 4 races live at 1950 GMT from Spa-Francorchamps with yours truly on track, so don't miss that if you want to make fun of me. Free laughs are allowed. And then, of course, on Wednesday at 19 GMT, we have the official Racing Le Mans Series live from Daytona. On Thursday at 19:15 GMT, we have the BSRTC Pro Series live once again from Spa-Francorchamps. So we are going to have a lot of Daytona and a lot of Spa, a lot of Okayama. And of course, next Saturday, same time as today, don't miss the penultimate round of the SRA GTE Series live from the World Center of Racing, Daytona, USA, 1 hour race at night. And it's going to be fantastic to commentate that race there, I think. Once again, even if you don't like the race, fireworks at the end. So don't miss that, as maybe we have an interview right now.
Cool.
Let's see if this time we have the driver with us.
Right.
Hello.
Hey, Abi, how are you, man?
Yeah, good. Fine.
Okay, so
great
it's
to hear
Abi
that.
Putra. We
Yeah.
have the fantastic drive once again for him. Even though I think I want to ask Abi if he had fuel problems in the end, because he dropped a couple of positions right at the end of the race, and he wasn't able to make them back, even though he had fantastic pace during the race.
Yeah, actually, I have 2 issues. First one, I have my top speed reduced. I didn't realize it until at the pit, because at the pit it showed optional repair 1 minute. I think, what? When did I crash? And then I remembered I jumped at the last turn curve like flying. So I think that was causing it. And then second issue is that, so my custom wheel has some shifting problems. So I set up Joy 2 key to map 2 shifter to upshift to map 1 shift. But in the middle of the race, something went up in my window in my desktop. So the cursor didn't on the air racing window. So I can shift like maybe 30 seconds, staying in the second gear. I figured out what's wrong. I tried my other shifter, didn't work. So I look up on the window because I was using VR. So I click the iRacing again. So yeah, my shifter works again. But mostly I think it was because my top speed reduced that causing me drop like 2 positions. Yeah.
So, as you guys are hearing, looks like it's all easy for our drivers on track, but they have to face challenges other than the car and the racetrack. Sometimes the hardware gives you problems. So, of course, this is a fantastic track. And next week we go to another fantastic track that is Daytona. Much different, of course. The short and sweet infield section, and then the long straights and the banking of the super speedway. What are your feelings toward next week's race?
Yeah, actually, I only practice a bit every week, so just another fun race for me. But I try my best, of course. It will be an interesting race. I love the track. Like there are straights too easy for overtaking, so might be lots of position changes due to the drafting, of course. Yeah, looking forward to next week.
I don't know if Wei Han has a question for you.
Yes, I do have a question for you, Abi. Hey, I'm just curious to asking from my own perspective. You understand that your performance this season has been really good so far. So just like to know, if I may ask for a bit, what would your goals be towards the end of this season? Because we have two races left to go. How much of I guess how much do you think you'll be able to push yourself, comparing to your teammates, and maybe perhaps how well you may be able to do compared to the other drivers, with two races to go? How do you think you would be able to see yourself performing as we head to the next races?
Yeah, actually, I think my performance this season is actually lower than before because I didn't practice as much as before. Uh, I have some other things to do, so I didn't have much time for sim racing. But yeah, I will try my best because I think this season lots of good drivers. I mean, not a lot. I mean, some of the group drivers are not racing again, so relatively my performance went up. But actually, I think it stays the same or lower than my previous season. So of course, yeah, I will try my best during the next races because the competition is so tight with the second team, with which is Delta, I think, Delta Sim Sport. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear, Abi. Congrats again on your race tonight. And all the best for the rest of your season and with whatever it is that you set yourself to.
Yeah, thank you for broadcasting, guys.
Oh, sorry, just one more question before we let you off. Any sponsors or anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Don't know. I
Why
didn't
lab?
think much of this interview. Yeah, well, of course for Wildlife Motorsport, but yeah, I didn't prepare for this, so I don't know.
Boss Indra.
Yeah, Ominja, of course, our
Yeah,
team owner.
KFC.
Mazam, GJ, and Omandri. Yeah,
Cool. Great to hear, man. Hey, see you around, man. Please take care, Abi. See you around.
see you guys. Thank you for doing the broadcasting.
So, we are running towards the end of this broadcast. Once again, I think we would like to thank the organizers of the league and all the stewards and the people that make it possible. And, you know, they provide us every week with a fantastic race with the GTs. And honestly, Wei Han, I cannot wait for Daytona, my favorite track, I think, for these cars. Maybe we have Jamal Kandur.
Hello.
Yes, we do.
Oh, bonus interview.
Salute. Sorry for the last time. I had a phone call just about to answer your questions. I had a phone call, so I'm sorry.
No problem. So, great race. You were consistent, and you get a fantastic podium in the end.
Well, I would like first to thank everyone who's involved in the series who made it happen, and I specifically would like to thank my friend Peter because, believe it or not, this is the first time ever I do race this circuit on iRacing. And I had to prepare a lot, and he did help me a lot with it. And yeah, I just kept my head down, even though I would like also to send a message to some of the runners who usually run up front, like Ahmed and Putra, to take it a little easy, wait for your opportunities, keep your head down, keep your surrounding known to you, because sometimes the lines do change a lot. Like, for example, in the last like couple of laps, I had Putra ahead of me. He might have had a problem or something because he was like slow on the straights. I knew he's in third place, so I thought to myself, okay, if I take on Putra, that's a podium finish. But at the same time, I was a little afraid to do it, and that's usually a situation that I don't think of, but today I had to think about it. So I had to wait for the right opportunity to do it. And thank God it went good. I don't know what happened to Ahmed at Mulsan. And that was something crazy, seeing the Ferrari for the second time going upside down. I mean, last week it happened, and this week as well. So, but in the end of the day, it's a great race. I felt the flow, and I just did it.
And next week, of course, is going to be Daytona, completely different track. What do you think about the racing in the 24-hour track there of Daytona? So the infield, and then you get the massive speeds on the oval proper.
Well, the Ford is basically proving to be a good package overall if it's prepared correctly. And as for the upcoming circuit, I did a 24 hours race before there for my team. And so pretty much I know the layout. It's just a question of being prepared just like this week. And hopefully we will get a similar result.
Okay, so I honestly can't wait, and I think you cannot wait as well. That is a fantastic track, night race. It has all the right ingredients to provide us for another fantastic 1 hour race of the SRA GTE Series. But before we let you go, if Wei Han doesn't have any more questions, is there anyone? You do? Okay, allora let's stop. I even
So
put a little
sorry,
bit
guys.
of Italian in there because I mean,
Grazie, ragazzi.
like,
Yeah.
prego, that was fantastic Italian. So, well, have a go at the question then.
Right, Jamal, understand that you speak French as well, but sorry, that's not the question. My question is, I've also asked this question to Abhirafti Putra just now, is that guess maybe looking back at how far you've come this season, of course you've been marred by quite a lot of internet issues and phone call issues that
So
popped
many
up at
issues
various
that
points.
happened throughout the week before, yeah.
Yeah, though finally for this race, you've secured for yourself a podium finish, and that's going to do great to your point standings. So, I guess looking forward, we've only got 2 races to go before we end this season. So, how do you think you'll be able to fare for the rest of this season? How would you see yourself as you progress through the rest of this season with only 2 races left?
Well, to tell you the truth, it's just up to the support that I'm getting. And it was hard coming back. I know that you, Wei Han, know that before the series, I was a little bit away from my sim rig because of life and the
Yeah.
difficulty of it. But now that I'm back, I'm picking up the pace every round. But usually, if nothing wrong happens, just like today, here's my pace, and this is what I'm capable of. I don't think that I'm the quickest, of course. There's good guys in there who can achieve the impossible pretty much. But if I keep my head down and do it one lap at a time, it's a good result. So hopefully I'll remain strong for the next 2 rounds. And if everything goes as planned, it's not the last season that I'll do the this championship. I might even come back next year.
That sounds great. Great that you have great plans for yourself so far. But I'm not too sure if I can carry on because after this season, I'm going to serve in the army. So that's going to be 2 years away.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, Jamal, as well as the rest of the group.
Thank you all.
Before we let you go, any sponsors that you'd like to give a shout out to? I mean, I did kind of have a glimpse of this new logo that you have on your car. I think it was Sima Garage Sim Sports logo
Yeah,
that you had on your
yeah.
car.
Simar Garage is a new sponsor on our car, as well as we have a major sponsor. It's not as big in terms of logo, but pretty much he's behind most of what the motivation that I'm getting right now, and he's the one who's allowing me to have sim racing as a profession instead of just being a hobby. It's JMD Racing Academy, which is the leading simulation for driver training here in Lebanon. It's a pioneering movement where we have a state-of-the-art rig to teach drivers for their upcoming races. Usually, the drivers that attend the training are go-kart drivers or drivers who's promoting themselves from go-kart to do any formula discipline in Europe. So they usually end up in our center. I'm the technical director there, so he's helping a lot with like content and keeping everything where it should be. So I would like to thank JMD a lot for everything they're doing, and of course Impact Sim Racing, Simsa guys. They're just fantastic. These guys are top notch.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Amal, and good luck next week in Daytona.
Thank you. Thank you. See ya.
Okay, so once again, I would like to thank everybody for watching, the league organizers, and of course, it's been another fantastic race. It's time to get a good breakfast if you are in the US, or if you are in Europe, time for a little siesta, or if you are near Wei Han and Scott, it's time to go to sleep, hopefully. So for Scott Newton and Wei Han Chan, I'm Marco Barbanera. We will see you next week here on the SRA GTE Series. Good night.